Oh my god! Good afternoon, lads, and welcome back to Koality Time, the series where we get to sit back, have a chat, share some stories, answer some of your lads' questions, and have a look at what goes on behind the scenes of this channel. Well, we reached 50,000 subscribers. Holy shit. That's a big number. In fact, because I like numbers and perspective and stuff, and not at all because I want to show off, even though I know that's how it's going to come out, let's rattle off some statistics. At 50,000, that's 25 times the number of people that went to my college. It's twice the number of students attending Oxford University as of 2017. That's just a hair under the maximum capacity of Yankee Stadium, over half of Wembley Stadium. And it's the number of people who used to live in this city. Now it's a ghost town. I've never seen anything like it. Oh, come on, you all say I look like the Anonymous mask and I sound like Captain McMillan. So the first thing I have to say in this episode is, of course, a massive thank you for helping me achieve such an amazing level of success in the 2.5 years we've been together. Even though presumably most of you watching this probably only turned up in the last few months, you wee bastards. It really means a lot to me that you continue to come back and watch my content, and especially to all of you who support me on Patreon, and other such ways of keeping the lights on, as well as everybody who comments and joins the wider community we've got going on. Speaking of a wider community, let's get to the main topic of this episode, and that is that if you're seeing this when it does come out, then I am currently live streaming over at twitch.tv/theScottishKoala, for the first time in what feels like forever. See, I used to do regular live streams 3 times a week back when I was a lot smaller, but as my channel got more and more focused on looking more professional with videos like the Koala Explain series or the discussions that we started doing for Worth Under regularly, I had to stop streaming. See, Australian internet is bad at the best of times, and where I live in South Australia is about the biggest backwater on the planet, so internet connections were incredibly slow and unstable, which affected the quality of the stream. I also didn't really have a computer that was set up all that well for streaming, with a relatively old and cheap graphics card, which meant that I had to encode my stream on my CPU, which is an i5, so not really capable enough to both play games and encode and render a stream out of. So the stream was laggy, poor resolution, and oftentimes patchy as fuck, so it wasn't really keeping to the quality I wanted to get out of the channel on YouTube. It wasn't really enjoyable for many of you to watch, and because of that our streams barely managed to make 30 viewers at maximum, so it wasn't even likely to earn me much in the way of income either. The thing is, I've really enjoyed streaming. Ever since I quit almost a year ago, I've wanted to get back to it more than anything. I just never had the money or the capability to. Well, I've finally saved up enough money to upgrade both our internet and my graphics card. We're now running on the RTX 2060, which means I can both play games like War Thunder and render the stream all on the graphics card, so I'm not overstressing my CPU and I can keep a much higher quality. Actually, getting my new GPU is a story all to itself, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But for anybody who's watching this video right now and is clearly interested in keeping up with the channel and having more to do with the bloke behind it, I really hope you will come join me today and help me get back to Twitch streaming being a regular part of the channel. I'm super excited for it. I haven't really streamed since having more than 10,000 subscribers, and once again, the quality back then was absolute shite, so I'm hoping that with a much bigger and more well-liked channel now, as well as quality being far and away improved, that we'll be able to have quite the viewership on Twitch. If you're not able to make it today, or you're not watching this video until a few hours after it goes out, then we will be streaming tomorrow at exactly the same time, and from now on streaming 3 times a week, so do come follow my Twitch and check the schedule there. One thing I do want to do is get a kind of themed overlay for streaming. Now, I'm sure you lads have seen the kind of stock standard neon flashy lights stream overlays that 99% of streamers tend to use, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But not only is it a wee bit samey, but it's also not really themed with the channel. Actually, if you lads have heard of an online store called Fiverr, it's basically a hub for graphic designers and artists, marketing agents, social media managers, and a whole bunch of other freelance services. So you log on to Fiverr, search for the type of job you're interested in, maybe it's animation, and there'll be a whole bunch of animators advertising themselves and their prices for you to get in contact with. Really, it's a fantastic system. We're not sponsored by Fiverr, by the way. Anyway, Fiverr has now an entire segment of their website called the Fiverr Twitch Store, literally just for designers who create banners, overlays, emotes and sub-badges for Twitch streamers. And not to be rude to any of them, I'm sure they put in plenty of effort, but they all look the fucking same. I can sum up the entire Fiverr Twitch store in literally just neon flashy lights and almost graffiti style cartoon designs. Now occasionally there's something unique thrown into the mix, but none of it is the type of thing I'm looking for. See, although a lot of what I cover on the channel is modern military technology, one of the ways I want to kind of brand myself is almost more medieval. All the music I have in the playlist on Twitch is old Celtic or Gaelic style music, and it's a theme I want to really establish on the channel in general eventually, particularly on Twitch. I think that would really help set me apart. I was actually in the process of designing a new logo for the channel some time ago, but I put that almost permanently on hold until I can get somebody to do it professionally for me. But that logo would have had a lot of Celtic or Gaelic influence, you know, a Celtic knot, a koala holding a battle axe and maybe wearing a horned helmet. And yes, I know horned helmets are fictional and Vikings weren't Scottish. DreamWorks, you have a lot to answer for there. But one thing I had a bit of a vision for on Twitch is like, as an overlay, a dim candle-lit room with an old wooden desk, and that would be the backdrop of the stream. And then there'd be like an inkwell and quill and a roll of parchment on one side, and that's where the chat overlay would be, on the parchment, you know, that kind of thing. I could have a candle that's not lit, and then have notifications for subscriptions and follows and that kind of thing, where the animation for it is the candle all of a sudden flickering to life, although I'd have to position the actual overlay perfectly, but that's definitely doable. I think it would look fantastic. I know it's a wee bit difficult to explain with just words, and there are a couple of reasons why I'd want to have that kind of style or theme, even though what I cover is predominantly modern military technology, well, at least the second half of the 20th century. Number one, I do love my classical history, the Roman Empire, the Renaissance, the Crusades, the Age of Sail, etc. I love that era. Which is something you might not know about me, honestly. I don't know if it's anything I've ever really talked about much, even privately on Discord and social media. Number two is that, although I have covered more modern military stuff on this channel up until now, I do definitely want to branch out a wee bit in future, or at least give myself that room to grow, going back into Second World War topics, and then perhaps back even further to the invention of the dreadnought, the birth of the fighter and other military aircraft, and even back to the first uses of mobile cannonry in the mid-1600s. So if that's something you'd like to see from this channel in future, then definitely let me know with a like and a comment down below, because any excuse I can get to talk about more classical period history, I will take. Lastly, and this is a somewhat interesting reason, my Scottish accent is hardly as thick as that of someone living in Scotland. Take Oddbows for example. The Ouija bastard makes me sound like an American pretending to be a Viking, and that's because I've lived in Australia for more than 15 years, and I haven't been back to Scotland more than twice in all that time. So my accent is somewhat diluted, I like to say, from a true Scottish accent, which is actually something that's helped me on YouTube, because being less thick and heavy, it can actually be much easier for foreigners to understand what I'm saying. But somewhat coincidentally, it's also closer to a more historic Scottish accent. Something my partner Monica has been studying at university lately is dead languages, and more specifically, dead accents. For example, the way everyone usually portrays Shakespeare as a perfect posh English Hugh Grant sort of twat is completely wrong, and in reality his accent was closer to someone from Bristol, with a wee bit of Yorkshire thrown in there too. It's a dead accent which actually makes different words rhyme and completely changes the sounds of some of his works and makes them make a lot more sense. Well, my Scottish accent, thanks to being so watered down by living overseas for so long, is actually closer to a more Celtic age accent, which Monica and I both think is pure awesome. So as I said, I do think kind of leaning into that look of classical period history, at least in certain ways, might actually be pretty cool and set my channel apart. It's definitely not going to happen in the near future though, as hiring an animator and graphic designer to create that look and all the bits and pieces that go with it would be far too expensive for me to look at anytime soon. I mean, it took a lot of saving up just to get the new graphics card, especially when a lot of my Koala Explains content doesn't actually earn the channel much in the way of income, due to either being not safe for advertisers, or gets copyright claimed, even though it should count as a fair use, but who has time to take the BBC to court over a YouTube video? Speaking of the graphics card, I bought this new one from a local PC store called IT Warehouse. I rang them up, asked if the one I was looking at on their online store was available, and they said, no, we have the TI version, but that was way too expensive, couldn't justify it. Well, they said, we can order it in and give you a call in a few days' time when it gets here, and I said that sounded good. Then later that same day, I got another call from them saying, actually, we can't order that card in, unfortunately, because it can't be shipped in because of the coronavirus. My god, the fucking coronavirus. So they said, we've got one more coming in a couple of days, which is basically the same, but it's coming from America, so it won't be disrupted, and it's only $50 more expensive. So I said, okay, yep, reserve me one of them, and a couple of days later I went and picked it up. Upon bringing it home, I realised something. See, I have a 2-monitor setup. My main one, where I do all my gaming, video editing, all that stuff, is a 24-inch monitor which is connected through an HDMI cable. And that's all good, I'm sure 99% of modern GPUs have HDMI connections. But my other monitor, which I use for, of all things, streaming, as well as browsing online and basically anything I'm doing while I'm using the main monitor, is an older 21-inch which is using a DVI cable. And that was fine too, because my old GTX 1050 had both HDMI and DVI ports. When I was shopping online, I'd made sure that the RTX 2060 model that I was looking at had both ports too. But I couldn't get that one, could I? Thanks coronavirus. The one I ended up getting instead, I completely forgot to check which ports it had, and it turned out, upon bringing it home, that it doesn't have a DVI port. Ah, shit. Anyway, I did get an adapter for the old monitor to plug it into the DisplayPort slot on the graphics card, so I now have a fully set up RTX 2060, which means I can get back to streaming. It has been having some really bad overheating issues, funnily enough, not to the level where it's dangerous at all. In fact, I believe it'll automatically limit itself if the card gets to the kind of temperatures where it'll start damaging its own components. Most modern graphics cards do. But for some reason it's been getting really hot, so perhaps I'll have to start saving up for a liquid-cooled build next so that I can get some better cooling out of this case, because right now it just doesn't have the airflow. Now the last thing I want to talk about today is that I have revamped the reward tiers on Patreon, so if you haven't checked out the Patreon page in a while, now is the perfect time. All the previous rewards remain the same, just with the new titles as you can see, but we've added a $15 tier where as a reward you can request a relevant video topic, so if there's any videos you specifically want to ask me to make, then this is a great way to do it, as it supports the channel at the same time. There's also a new $25 tier for those elite supporters with too much money in their bank accounts, but there aren't currently any rewards for that tier, although I can promise you there will be in future. Rules on the Discord have also changed a wee bit, so if you're not a member there, then make sure you join, as we're currently holding a giveaway there that will close at the end of this month. For now, thank you again for 50,000 subscribers, not to mention 9 months of this podcast series, and I hope to see you all on my return to regular Twitch streaming. Make sure you head to the link below, or if not, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you lads all for watching, have a lovely good day, and always remember, keep a whiskey to hand, keep your kilt on, and I'll catch you next time.